What is up, everybody, and welcome back to your favorite place to talk movies. I'm your host, Luce, and this is Real Talk, off script. So today, for today's show, I do got a couple of topics I'm going to go into for you guys. But we are going to start off the show with what I'm pretty sure you guys clicked on the video for. We got a review today for a big movie I've been telling you guys about all year that I was looking forward to, and I was really hoping that they would stick the landing on. But we're going to go into some of the details and how I felt about it, and that's for the Mandalorian and Grogu. So I saw the movie, I think 2 days ago now. Today's Saturday when I'm recording this. I saw the movie 2 days ago, and I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. I came away feeling a little underwhelmed. I know a lot of y'all probably seen some of my other episodes where I was pretty much explaining, some of the things I was worried about leading into this movie, some of the things I was curious about, and some things I was hoping that they would be able to pull off. A lot of things came true before my very eyes on the big screen. Some of them didn't. So let me just go into how I felt about the movie and let you guys know what I thought. So overall, which was my main issue with even the idea of a Mandalorian Grogu movie being made, but the movie actually just confirmed what I was scared of. And what I was scared of the most was I was hoping that the movie wouldn't just feel like a cut down season of the show that we already got. And to me personally, that's exactly what we got. I really feel like this movie, if you would have gave it, I don't know the actual runtime. I'm gonna assume it's 2 hours and let's say 5 minutes or something like that, somewhere around that area. If you would have gave this movie 6 more hours, this just could have been a show. Like everything that was in the movie just felt like a highlight reel of a season of The Mandalorian. And to me, that was the main thing I was worried about. That was the main thing that I had problems with, just with them saying that we're gonna make this movie. I really wanted them to pretty much give us a reason, like I've said before, to want to come to the movies to see this compared to just staying at home and getting the movie on Disney Plus for the essential same exact experience, to be completely honest. I mean, I feel like a lot of the stuff in the movie, and I am going to get into the things that I did like, but just to go over the reasons why I didn't like the movie overall, a lot of it was just very similar beats to exactly what we've already seen on the show on Disney Plus. And I was hoping that we would get something different. I mean, we did get a couple of new characters in the movie. I won't go into any spoilers or anything like that. But we did get a couple of new characters in the movie, but the majority of the characters in the movie was people we already saw before. So it was really exactly like a continuation of the show. And I was just hoping that we would get a little bit more. The story to me, I don't think the story was as thin as a lot of other people say, but I also don't think there was much on the bone. Like it really wasn't. It wasn't a lot of meat to this rib, I should say. I think that the movie could have used a little more, just something more memorable. Like I'm trying not to get into too many spoilers, because I don't want to spoil you guys if you're going to still go out and see this. But to be completely honest, like after I left the movie, I was like, and that was really just about it. Like as far as from the story. So like I said, I don't want to go too specific on the story beats, but whatever you've seen from the Mandalorian Grogu show, or just the Mandalorian, I should say, if you've seen at least 2 seasons, or at least just seen the first season of the show, you should know exactly what you're gonna get out of the movie. And to me, I want a little bit more. I told you guys I was scared about that a couple of episodes ago and just earlier in the year, and essentially what I was scared of is exactly what I saw. But that's enough with the negatives. Let me get into a couple of the positives and stuff that I really liked from the movie. So one thing that just jumped out to me as soon as the movie started and just reminded you that this is a Star Wars movie was the visuals. Star Wars has never really skimped on us when it comes to the visuals. This movie definitely is on the same vein as those. I want to say the planet was called Shikari. That's where some important things in the movie kind of go down. And when the Mandalorian and Grogu actually get there, when you couple the music that plays, they got like a little, I don't know where they pulled this out from. There's like a little trap beat or whatever, which is like the theme to Shikari, which is pretty cool. I like that music a lot. But just the visuals alone, like it really made it feel like it was like you were watching Blade Runner or something like that. Like it definitely gave dystopian, futuristic vibes. And then, like I said, when you couple that with the music, the score or the theme, I guess that's the planet's theme. I haven't went and looked at the soundtrack of this movie to see like what kind of matches up with what. But I'm just gonna assume that was the theme for Shikari, and like it just made you definitely feel like you're in another universe, which is why we go to see Star Wars movies. So I definitely love the visuals, not just on the planet of Shikari, just like every location that they were in. Whether it was the planet that the Hutts were on, the Jabba the Hutt family, whatever, they're in the movie as well. Jabba's not in the movie, but he gets alluded to a shit ton. But yeah, the planet that they're on, I don't know the name of that planet. Like that planet was like a lush jungle kind of like Dagobah vibes. Like where at least I'm pretty sure that's where he was, where Yoda was when you originally met him in Star Wars. It kind of gave vibes like that, and even some of the scenes in the movie as well kind of allude to Grogu kind of getting his master Yoda on. Like I said, I don't want to spoil too much, but I just kind of skimmed the water on it. But yeah, the visuals was amazing. And to be completely honest, another thing, like I said, if you're familiar with the show has always had amazing visuals. So I would assume and I would have hoped that the movie did too, and they definitely nailed it on that. The score, like I said, all the music in this movie, hats off. Like the score has always been amazing for The Mandalorian, but with the movie, like just to hear it, just to see it on the big screen and hear it in them loud ass speakers. I don't know what was up with my theater, but they cranked the volume all the way up to 11, which is cool. But I was like, God damn, I am sitting right next to sitting right next to the stereo, or right next to the speakers, I should say. But yeah, the music was amazing. I feel like every scene that I felt like, okay, this is kind of giving me what I'm looking for, they immediately tied it in with amazing music as well. So like the stuff that I did, like from a visual and a sonic standpoint, the movie is amazing. The movie's amazing. If you just want to come in and just have some fun with a movie, this is definitely gonna scratch your itch. Like just off that alone. If you're not looking for story, you just want to come have some fun with the Star Wars universe. This movie does pack that punch. So I can say that. A couple of little things, a couple of little nitpicks here and there I'll kind of touch on was Jeremy Allen White's voice as Jabba the Hutt's son. Bro, I could have did without that. Like he literally just sounds like himself, but in a big fat alien worm body. Like it just kind of it was taking me out of it. I wish they would have put a little more, some kind of like a stronger effect on his voice. Like it took me out of it, to be completely honest. Like if you know Star Wars and you know like how Jabba the Hutt sounds, I know he doesn't speak English. But just to hear his tone of whatever language he's speaking, like his voice, and then you kind of move over to the Jeremy Allen White, it just didn't. It was weird to me. Like as soon as I saw the character and heard his voice, I was like, oh, that's all we get. He just essentially rolled in on the weekend, recorded his, vocals, and that was it. Y'all didn't even put they put a little effect on it, I will say, but it just wasn't enough. Like I'm seeing him, but in this body, and it just wasn't really matching up. There's a couple of other things that I do want to get into for this review, but I'll save it for the next topic because we're still going to be talking about Star Wars on the next topic. Just a spoiler alert, we're going to be talking a little more Star Wars. But I am seeing a lot of people online loving this movie, so maybe it will work for people. I honestly, to be completely honest, I've seen the vast majority of people either liking or loving this movie. I am a big Star Wars fan. I've been one since I was a kid, so maybe I'm just being a little tough on it, but I just want to give you guys my honest opinion on these movies. I don't want to come in here and sugarcoat anything, whether it's a franchise that I love or hate. I'm going to come in and give y'all the real. That's hence the title, Real Talk. I don't want to come in here and just blow smoke up your ass and give y'all a lot of fluff. This movie didn't necessarily scratch the itch I was looking for, especially after not getting a Star Wars film for the last almost decade. It's been 7 years now. With us not getting a Star Wars movie for that long, this movie didn't scratch my itch the way I was hoping that it would, but it's not a bad time in the theater either. If you are a Star Wars fan, I would definitely suggest this movie. If you're not, you can wait till it comes to Disney+. So that's my review. That's how I feel about it. I am curious to know if you guys were going to go see this movie, if you're going to see it today. Like I said, I'm recording this on a Saturday. So maybe you missed it Thursday and Friday and you're going to see it today, or you're just planning on, seeing it whenever you get some time. I am curious to know what you guys think about it, and if you guys are excited about it, or if you're going to see it at all. But that's enough how I feel. Go down in the comments, let me know, and we'll go from there. So, now that we're moving on from my review of The Mandalorian Grogu, I told you guys that we are going to talk a little more Star Wars. And after seeing the movie, this topic, I'm just going to be honest with you guys, I'm a little worried and scared about the health of the Star Wars franchise. Not if we're going to keep getting movies and shows and all that. Of course, we're never going to get that. Disney going to keep churning them out. But I'm worried about the health of the Star Wars franchise just from a quality standpoint, I should say. So, after I saw The Mandalorian Grogu, I left the theater, I was like, how healthy is the Star Wars franchise overall leading into Star Wars Starfighter next year? Because we don't get anything else, unless maybe some shows here or there on Disney Plus that maybe I don't know about. I know we just got one with what's the guy's name? The villain, Darth Maul. He got another fucking show. Like the dude has died 17 times in the Star Wars universe, and we keep giving him shows. But whatever. And I actually didn't get a chance to watch that. I'm not the biggest fan of the Star Wars animation stuff, but I have heard it's pretty good. So I'm gonna put an asterisk next to what I'm saying because we just had a pretty good show. But I was just wondering, with the next quote unquote big Star Wars movie, because I know this movie is with all new characters from what I'm understanding. I'm pretty sure they may sprinkle in some people that we know here or there in the movie, but from to my knowledge, all these characters are brand new characters. So I'm wondering. I know it's early, but I don't know how the marketing is going to be. I don't know how they're going to get people to really jump on board with a brand new cast of Star Wars characters. Again, especially when they've been for the last I don't know how long. Just like with the Darth Maul thing, for example, they just keep sprinkling in the characters that we've seen over and over and over again on every single project that they put out. And they kind of did it in the Mandalorian movie as well. There are some new characters, like I said, but the majority of them are characters that we already seen before. So I'm just wondering, with the last 10 years of Star Wars, let's just go over the last 10 years just from a theatrical standpoint. So we've gotten Rogue One, which I fucking loved, and a lot of us love too. You got Rogue One, The Last Jedi, Solo, a Star Wars story, the Han Solo movie. You got The Rise of Skywalker, and now you got The Mandalorian and Grogu. Out of all those movies, only one of them, like I said, is revered by the majority of the fan base, and that is Rogue One. Deservedly so, in my honest opinion. All the rest, people were either indifferent on or just completely fucking hated, to be completely honest. And now with The Mandalorian and Grogu out, like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of it. We'll see how everybody else feels going into the weekend and going to next week. And just to see if there's any major drop off as far as the box office. I know we got a couple of movies coming out next week. We got Backrooms and Pressure. But to be completely honest, if Star Wars is Star Wars like we know and remember it, those two movies shouldn't put too much of a dent in the box office earnings for next week. But I'm curious. Just based off of how I felt about The Mandalorian, I'm really curious to see how a lot of other people feel. And do they feel more similar to how I feel or how other people feel as far as them loving it? So I am curious to see how much of a drop off at the box office next week is. I think it's going to be closer to 50 to 60%, to be completely honest. I don't think that's due to, like I said, Backrooms and Pressure coming out next week. I just think it's just so many movies out right now. Michael is still doing really good. Devil Wears Prada is still doing really good. Obsession is doing very fucking good, especially be a rated R movie. So it's just going to be a lot of cannibalism at the theater next week, and I think that's going to be the major reason why The Mandalorian Grogu takes a little dip next week. It's just so much to choose from out right now, which is a good thing. That's a healthy thing for the theater. And every time I go, it's a lot of people there. But to get back on topic, to get back on subject, I'm just wondering, we haven't really gotten an amazing Star Wars movie since 2000, what was that, 16 with Rogue One? 2016. And I'm just wondering how many times can they keep putting out a mediocre, middle of the road type of movie or just one that's just not bad? How many times can we keep getting that from the franchise before people just completely tune out? When I was growing up, when I was a kid, I remember how big of a deal. I was a little too young for The Phantom Menace, so I don't really remember that as much, even though I saw it later on. But as far as Clone Wars and Episode 3, that was a major cultural thing. Like everywhere you look with Star Wars, everywhere as far as TV channels, you turn it on, it's a Star Wars commercial or a trailer or a new toy, or they put fucking Darth Vader on the Kellogg's box for Frosted Flakes or something. Like Star Wars was as big as it probably was in the 70s, like at least for me when I was a kid. But nowadays you don't really get that as much. And like my nieces and nephews, they don't fucking care about Star Wars the way we did. And I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the quality of the projects that we've been getting. Like I said, in the last 10 years, we've gotten a handful of movies. Only one of them has been pretty good. And if you go back and you want to go into the Disney Plus stuff as well, I'm just really talking theatrical, because that's really what the show is about. I don't really want to talk about streamers as much, even though there may be some crossover here or there every now and then. But as far as the streamers go, if you look at Disney Plus, the only good, I will say, this just is my honest opinion, the only really, really good Disney Plus series we got was Andor. I don't know. I'll give y'all time to think. I don't really. What was it? The Acolyte? Did you guys like the Acolyte? Did you like the Boba Fett show? Like a lot of those other shows is like we don't really. Even the Obi-Wan show, which I had high hopes for, it didn't really hit the nail on the head how we all thought and hoped it would. It just didn't. So I'm wondering how many more projects can Star Wars continually give us without any of them hitting the nail on the head, and we just keep going and keep going and keep shoving out money. Like I always say, I'm a fan of this stuff. I'm a fan of these movies. I'm a fan of this franchise, a big fan. You know, my dad put me onto this when I was a kid because he was a kid when the first Star Wars movies came out. So, and they were still a major pop culture thing when I was a kid. But I just don't see it like that anymore today, to be completely honest. And I told you guys over the last couple of reviews, like when I saw Devil Wears Prada or Michael, the way the theater showed up, everybody was dressed up and everybody was excited to see it. I didn't really see that when I saw the movie the other day. I saw a couple of people with Grogu hats on with the little ears or whatever, but it literally like maybe a couple, like 2 or 3. I didn't see the same pop at the theater like I did for those other movies, which is saying a lot. This is Star Wars. And it's the first Star Wars in 7 years, like I keep repeating. I haven't really seen any of the buzz that I've seen for a lot of other movies this year. And to me, that's worrying as a fan. And like I said, I'm going to circle it back to what I started off the topic with. I'm just wondering if this is from a quality level. When we were talking about the MCU and a lot of people were kind of like feeling iffy about it and they weren't as excited as they used to be, it was because of the quality. And to once again, me personally, I don't think the MCU had nearly as many as missteps as Star Wars has had in the last decade. Nowhere near the same. And you saw how people felt about the MCU for a while. People were completely turned off and didn't care. I see a lot of people even saying going into Doomsday that they don't care as much for this. And I'm just wondering if that's going to be the same. If this is a pattern, just based off of how fans feel about movies and how they move around movies, I don't think it's looking good for Star Wars, to be completely honest. Because like I said, The Mandalorian Grogu by no means is a bad movie in any way, shape, or form. It is not a bad movie at all. But it is also not a good movie. It's not. And that's just how I feel about it. It's not a good movie at all. So I don't know how many times we can keep getting either mediocre, okay movie, or forgettable Star Wars project before people just are completely turned off. So I don't know. I feel like next year leading into Star Wars, is it The Last Starfighter, or just Star Wars Starfighter, whatever it's called. That movie is, they going to have to, and I said it for this one, they're going to have to find a way to get people excited for Star Wars again. Everything that I've heard about this movie, just behind the scenes things and some of the things that we can't expect, which I'll talk about it in the later show once we get a little closer to the release date for that, or at least until we get a trailer or something like that. Everything I've heard so far has sounded amazing, but that's not the first time that I've heard things like that behind the scenes for a Star Wars project, and then it came out, and then that wasn't the case when we saw it. So I don't know. This movie next year is going to have a lot of heavy fucking lifting to get this franchise back to remotely close to where they used to be. I've even heard rumors, to be honest, that Star Wars Starfighter might be the next quote unquote big trilogy from Star Wars. So I don't know if we're just gonna go away from the episodic things. Like episode 1 through 3, that was one thing, and then 4 through. I don't know if they're gonna do that with the Starfighter, just make that its own. I don't know, but I've been hearing a lot of shit behind the scenes for this movie. Like I said, everything sounds good, but if I had $1 for every time everything sounded good for a movie behind the scenes, then we got it and it was a piece of shit, I wouldn't be rich, but I'd have at least like $79 or something. I don't know. I'd have something. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on the health of the Star Wars franchise right now. I'm just not, as a fan, I'm not ecstatic with the direction of the franchise. I know a lot of people say once Disney got their hands on it that it was complete shit after that. I don't agree with that. The Force Awakens was a good movie to me. Rogue One was an amazing movie to me. Andor is one of the best series, full stop, period. Like it just, Star Wars or not, Andor is one of the best series ever. So obviously they got a couple of hits here and there. I just want them to kind of pick up the pace and make it a little more consistent with the hits. We got way too many misses in between the hits, and that's my problem right now with the Star Wars franchise. But that's enough of me yapping about that. Like I said, I'm curious to know, like, are you guys big Star Wars fans? If you did see The Mandalorian Grogu, do you feel the same way that I feel, or do you feel completely safe with the Star Wars franchise and you think they're just going to pull it out? I'm curious to know if that's how you guys actually feel. So go down in the comments, let me know, and we'll go from there. All right, so moving on to our last topic of the day. So the last topic of the day is about a franchise that I don't think I've ever talked about on the pod To be completely honest, if I did, I don't remember it. But it's a franchise that I'm a big fan of, and that's the Avatar films. Not Avatar: The Last Airbender, not that bullshit ass movie they put out, but I'm talking Avatar, James Cameron's Avatar. So James Cameron actually sat down recently. I think he was on like maybe a press run or something, or he did an interview. I think it was about Billie Eilish's movie, the movie she has out in the theaters now. I think he's the director. He's either the director or the cinematographer or something. I know he helped a lot with that movie, I should say. But he sat down and did an interview, and in the interview, they asked him about the Avatar franchise, and he essentially expounded on how the franchise have done financially, I guess his hopes and dreams of how he wants it to kind of go. But he did have an interesting quote, which I'll read in that interview, and it's essentially going over how the Avatar movies will be made moving forward, and I thought it was a little interesting. So let me get into his quote. So he says, we're going to be looking at some new technologies to try and do them more efficiently, which is the movies, of course, because they're hideously expensive and take a long time. He also said, I want to do them in half the time for 2/3 of the cost. That's my metric, Cameron added. And so it's going to take us a year or so to figure out how to do that. And in the meantime, I'll be writing and probably doing a couple of other things. Now, that last sentence where he says, in the meantime, I'll be writing and probably doing a couple of other things, I might make that a topic for another show, because if you guys know James Cameron's history and some of the other IPs that he's been tied to, hey, if he's talking about doing some writing and doing some other quote unquote things, that sounds like some shit I'm trying to hear. But anyway, let's get back to Avatar. So he's essentially saying, now I'll quote him again, he wants to do them in half the time for 2/3 of the cost. Now hold on. Now, like I said, I'm a big fan of the Avatar movies, like a major fan. Like it's probably one of my favorite franchises, to be honest. Even though we only got 3 projects in a video game, which is really fucking good, by the way. But I will say 100%, I do want the sequels. I do want them faster. But the cheaper thing is like what I really like. It's a hurdle that I just can't find a way to get over that shit. Because a lot of times when people say I want to make movies faster and cheaper, okay, we get Marvel movies every fucking year, and we'll probably get at least 2. I'll say on average we probably get 2. I know in the past couple of years they've been kind of ramping them out faster and ramping them out as far as Disney Plus and the theater or whatever. Avatar doesn't really move that way, and obviously from the first Avatar, which came out in 2009, I was in the 9th grade when that movie came out. I was a freshman. We didn't get a sequel until 2000 and what was that, 22? Yeah, 2022. So between that and then, I was a grown-ass man by the time we got the next movie. And then even with the second one, Way of Water, moving into Fire and Ash, that was another, 3-year turnaround? So, like, we don't get these movies the way a lot of other franchises pump them out. So faster is definitely something that I would like for him to do, of course. But I don't want that to be at the expense of the quality of the franchise, which is what the fuck I'm worried about. And I know a lot of people will say, from a story standpoint, Avatar isn't that deep. It's really not. It is Fern Gully in space. It is Dancing with Wolves in space. It is all that shit that people say it is, but that doesn't get over the fact that the quality is still there from a filmmaking standpoint. And not to mention, we all know how James Cameron moves when it comes to him making movies. He's gonna create new technologies. Like, for example, I don't know if you guys know or not, but I think I said it in the past episode. I don't remember or not, but Christopher Nolan, for his the Odyssey movie, he actually invented a new IMAX camera because he wanted to shoot it and he wanted the movie to look a specific way on film when we see it. And I always geek out about new film technology and stuff like that. And James Cameron is a pioneer of a lot of shit that we see in the theaters today. Like, you probably don't know a lot of the movies that you see, they only exist because James Cameron went and did the footwork to actually make that technology come to fruition. Kind of like how, well, not kind of like, but very similar to how Steven Spielberg pretty much revolutionized CGI with Jurassic Park. Not every movie you see can look just like Jurassic Park, but it only happened because he went out and found a way to get it onto the big screen. That's what James Cameron does. He's a pro at that shit. He's the king of that. So I'm worried that we're not gonna see. Okay, let me put it like this. My biggest worry for the franchise moving forward, if what he says is actually true, is we're not going to see the Avatar movies look different than anything else that we're seeing in the theater right now. And that's my major gripe with what he said so far. Of course, we are years away. And I think he also said, Yeah, he even said it's going to take us a year to even figure out how they're going to get the Avatar movies made and then to start to make them. So obviously, we're not going to get Avatar 4 anytime soon. It's 2026 now. It's May. We're probably not getting that until maybe 2029. So it's going to be another 3 year gap in between the next one. But between that one and the ones moving forward, I don't know if he means okay, 2020. Let's just say hypothetically, 2029 is the next time we get an Avatar movie. I don't know if he means we're gonna get it in 2030. I don't know if the next one's gonna be 2031 because usually with big franchises like this, if it's not Marvel, of course, and they're putting out multiple projects in the same year, usually we get one every 2 years. That's usually how it works. If you go back and look at the Spider-Man movies or not Avengers movies per se, but like a lot of like even Jurassic Park movies, like these franchises that we get a lot of movies from, is usually a 2 year gap in between the next one. And that's with planning, you got pre-production, you got casting, you got all the other shit. And then you got to actually film the movie and then edit the movie. And it's usually a 2 year turnaround. They usually get all the major footwork from pre-production, casting, all the other stuff done in the first year. And then the second year is literally editing the movie, scrapping everything they don't want to use. And then you got the marketing leading up to the movie actually coming out. So with him saying he wants to make this cheaper and faster, I don't know. Like I don't know about everybody else, but I know me. The Avatar movies, just the movies alone, I'm a big fan of. But I also am excited to see what new technologies can we see on film. I actually have the limited edition of the first Avatar movie on Blu-ray, and it has like a shit ton of extra scenes and stuff like that. I went back and looked at the stuff that wasn't in the theater, those scenes that he added onto, and like, bruh, for that movie to come out in 2009. There's some scenes and I'm like, dog, that's a real fucking blue alien on Pandora. Like they went to another planet to film this movie. You can't suggest otherwise. Which is still weird to me that those are the scenes that he cut out. But like, there's one scene where Jake and Sute, if you guys remember that character, Sute dies in the first movie. Spoiler alert: shit came out in 2009. He fucking dies. But in the movie, there's a what do you call it? I think it's called a mercy kill or whatever. Like he fucked up like real bad. So Jake stands over him and gives him the mercy kill, and like the way that James Cameron shot this shit from a cinematography standpoint, like dog, that's one of the most real CGI shots I have ever seen. That's a 2009 movie. So if you can kind of see where I'm kind of like trying to connect the dots here, for that movie come out in 2009 and still looks as good as it does, I want those new technologies, James. Like I want you to keep doing that. So if they're going to be skimping out on the price tag, which I can kind of understand, I'm gonna get into that too. If they're going to be skimping out on the price tag of these movies, I'm just hoping that doesn't also lose the revolutionary shit that we all know him for. We all love him for. I'm just hoping that that's not the case. But let's get into some of the numbers of the last Avatar movies, and we can kind of make sense of why this may be happening the way that it's happening. So the original Avatar movie, which a lot of people seem to forget, is the highest grossing movie of all time in all history of all everything ever cinematic ever, and that shit made $2.9 billion. Asterisk next to it. It didn't make that in its original theatric run. It didn't, but it did make the bulk of that shit. There has been at least I want to say at max there's been 4 re-releases of the movie, but I remember off the top of my head 3. So let's just roll with 3. But that movie has re-released a couple of times, which has added to that hefty cinematic box office earnings that shit made. It almost made $3 billion. There's no movie that's ever made $3 billion. Obviously, Avatar is knocking on the door. I think it's 9.23, 2.923, I should say. And that's the first one. So the second one, which is The Way of Water, is actually third all time, right behind. I'm going off the top of my head, y'all. So this is I think it's right behind Avengers Endgame. I think it's the first Avatar, Avengers Endgame, and then The Way of Water. So The Way of Water made $2.3 billion, and that was 2022, like I said. So 3 years later, Fire and Ash comes out. So we go from the first one on the list, Avatar being number 1 on the list. You go from The Way of Water being number 3 on the list to Fire and Ash dropping all the way down to 16th on the list. Now, mind you, if you are the 16th highest grossing movie of all time, that's still a shit ton of money. Like, it's a lot of money. And that movie made $1.4 billion, which, like I keep saying, is a shit ton of money. And the top 15, obviously 2 of those are Avatar movies in the top 15. But everything else is like movies that we all saw, we know and love. A lot of us seen this shit a good 3-4 times in the theaters. So it made sense why those movies made so much money, and this one is right outside the top 15. So that's still bravo to you to making that much money. But you got to think how Disney is looking at this shit. If you go from 2.9 billion for one movie, 2.3 billion for the earnings for the second movie, and then you drop all the way down, you make $1 billion less on the third one, which is coming in at 1.4. That's literally almost $1 billion less than the last one. I can see why Disney is like, let's kind of reel this back a little bit, James. Let's kind of pull the reins back on this, because they want to make sure they have the maximum amount of return on investment or ROI for him making these movies. And like I said, if we're not gonna get these consistently, like Marvel, like Disney doesn't give a fuck about paying that money for the Marvel movies, because they're gonna make they are for sure gonna make the return on investment, because they make so many of them. Like that's gonna recoup whatever the last one lost. Because guess what? For every the Marvels, because I know that movie didn't do that good at the box office. For every the Marvels that there's gonna be a fucking Avengers Doomsday. That's gonna recoup all that money that you may have lost on that. So they don't care as much. But if you only got 3 movies in your franchise, of course the first 2 made a shit ton of money. The third one did as well. They don't want you to drop $1 billion in revenue, to be completely honest. Like, I wouldn't either. If I say, hey, your budget is $100 for this, and you bring me $300 back, then I tell you the budget again is $100, and you only bring me $50 back or $25 back, of course I'm going to rein the budget back. So I think, to me, this is a clear indication that this is coming from the top. This is not James Cameron saying, oh yeah, I kind of want to skimp out on how I make these movies from here on out. No, this is coming from the top. The top people over there at Disney, the CEOs and all that, was like, hey, James, bro, I'm just keeping it being with you. The last one ain't do as good as the last couple. So let's just find a way to let's find a way to make more money off of this. Because I don't know how much you guys know about the price tag to make these Avatar movies, but it's through the fucking roof. Like, the last one was one of the most expensive movies ever made. And we're talking, like I said, Disney is looking at the receipt from this, and they're looking at how much money they got coming in. They're going to be like, yeah, we going to have to cut out a lot of fluff, James. Like, a lot of this shit that you do, I know you like doing the whole technology thing, but obviously it's not really going over with the audience how they may have hoped. And I'm going to be, like I said, this is called real talk. So I'm going to be real with y'all. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I think the second movie only did as good as it did because we hadn't had one since literally 2009. And that one came out in 2022. I don't know how viable this franchise would be if they're pushing them out and cranking them out however fast that Disney wants to do it. Of course, he didn't put a time frame on it. I don't know if it's every year. I don't know if it's every 2 years. I don't know. But to be completely honest, I don't know how viable the franchise can be. Just from what I hear people talk about on the internet regarding Avatar and the 3 movies that have came out so far. And obviously you can see a steep decline between the one that came out fucking 16, 17 years later and the one that came out 3 years after that one. You can see a steep fall off, $1 billion almost fall off. So I could definitely understand just from a business standpoint why Disney would feel away and say, hey, James, we going to have to reel it back, bro, because the last one ain't do as good as the first 2. So I completely understand. Just as a fan, I want to talk about this because I'm just hoping that we don't lose the quality while we gain the frequency. That's a major thing for me. I don't mind if we got to wait 10 years before. Perfect example. Just popped in my head. The Batman movie that came out with, I'm having another blank, Robert Pattinson. With him as Batman, that one came out in, 2022? We're not getting the next one until next year. That'll be 2027, y'all. That's 5 years. But guess what? If this one is anywhere near as good as the first one, I don't mind the wait. I don't mind if it takes longer from a creative standpoint to make something that's amazing compared to just churning the shit out. Churning it out. All the Avatar movies are good because guess what? They don't come out every 2 years. Not the Avatar, I'm sorry, Avengers. All the Avengers movies are good because we don't get them every 2 years. We got the first one, 2012. The next one didn't come out till 2015. We didn't get another one till 2018, 2019? Like, it was a long time. They give it time to let the shit breathe. Let us get used to not having it for a little while. Let us get used to being hyped for the next one. And then they come back with good product, and that makes us want to come back over and over and over and over and over again. And I feel like that was probably the best thing for Avatar. Like I said, I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but like I said, I do want more Avatar films. I do want them to be faster. But if that's going to be at the expense of the quality, then I can fucking wait. If it takes 5 years for us to get the same amount of quality or even better than what we have gotten, I can wait, and I don't mind it. But if we're going to be churning them out every 2 years and they're going to be cheaper, I don't know. I'm kind of fearful for the franchise, and I don't know how good they're going to do. But I don't get paid the big bucks, so what the fuck do I know? I'm just coming here to give y'all my opinions on some things I like, which is movies. And like I said, I'm a big fan of the Avatar franchise, so I'm just hoping for the best. Same way I was with Star Wars that I talked about in the last topic. But that's enough of me yapping about Avatar as well. I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all probably didn't even know how much I love that franchise because I really, really fucking do. But I just wanted to come in and let you guys know what the news is for that franchise if you guys are fans as well. But that's enough of me yapping about it. Once again, if you guys are fans of the Avatar franchise and you agree with me or you think maybe they should just keep churning them out and trying to make 800 million here or 1 billion here or 1.1 billion. Maybe the days of Avatar being one of the highest grossers in Hollywood is over. Maybe the next one only makes 700 million. I don't know, but I'm curious to know what you guys think about it. So go down in the comments and let me know what you think. So that does it for today's episode. Once again, I'm very appreciative of all you guys tuning in over the last, has it been 2 months now? I feel like the time has been flying by as far as the podcast goes. I think it's been 2 months. But I appreciate you guys sticking with me so far on my movie yapping journey. Hope you guys stay. And if you guys have any comments you want to leave down, a question of the day, like I always say, if you do want to have a question of the day, just go in the comments, all caps, question of the day. Say that and just put comma, semicolon, whatever you want to put. And just put whatever question that is. And like I always say, if it's something I feel like we can have a good debate on, a good conversation about, I might put it in one of our next episodes. So I'm appreciative of you guys going down and putting those in there as well. But with all that said and done, that is today's show. And until next time, peace.